You said you have agency, and I love you, Sam. That's what you
I
said to
do love
him.
Sam.
I love that that's recorded. That was already in the
That was
in the
in the arch-
database, the
that was in the
archives, I guess.
archives.
I had no clue that was in there, but Doug, he's got something for everybody, man. That's what we love about you, Doug. You've got some
Thanks.
agency as well. We appreciate you. Sam, let's
Appreciate it.
talk about James Bouknight for a little bit because I thought he was going to be somebody, maybe not right off the rip at the start of the season he was going to get minutes, but I really did think he'd play more than what he has so far, for sure. And the guy just hadn't gotten a ton, right? He got some minutes during the health and safety protocol where guys were out. He had I think he had the 20-point performance, hit 5 threes, something like that. He was really good in the one game, but hadn't played a ton. Now, gets more so garbage time minutes against Oklahoma City, and there was certainly that to be had last night, but also played in the second quarter. Comes in, has a really nice dunk, and you're seeing him play at least the last two games. What have you made of the way that James Borrego has handled James Bouknight, and is there any way to project what we can expect from him in the latter half of the season?
Yeah, no, I think James is obviously, first off, I think he's a tremendously talented player. I think that they were fortunate to get him in the draft, and I think it's not nearly as much about what he hasn't done. It's just with that second backup two guard spot. I think Cody Martin just went out and kind of won those minutes in training camp, and he's been extraordinary, particularly on the defensive side. I think that's kind of the separation right now between Cody Martin and James Bouknight. It's defensively, and that's not a James has time, and he's
Mhm.
still very young and developing, and I think this is kind of all part of the process. And yeah, you can definitely see the flashes. I think he's played well in the G League, and I think right now for him it's just about kind of getting reps wherever you can get him, whether it's in the Hornets, whether it's in the Swarm. He was up in Greensboro, I think, on Saturday night too, and just getting more and more reps. And I think last night in particular was kind of more so you insert him into that second quarter. I think the Hornets had run maybe 8 guys at that point, maybe extending it to 9, and they needed some offense. And James has shown that he can get offense quickly. I think he had some good showings in those first 2 Philly games when the team was in health and safety protocols. And he's got the size in terms of like length and everything, and I think he's about 6'5". So I think it's kind of been an up and down year in the sense of just he hasn't had consistent playing time, but I don't think it's because anything is wrong or anything like that. I think it's just kind of part of the natural development, and he kind of came into a situation where it's hard to get rotation minutes. Guys have stepped up and have been playing well in that backcourt spot, and but overall I think he's going to be fine, and I think there's certainly opportunities right now for him to kind of, get his foot in the door and maybe get some minutes as the season progresses.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I thought he was going to get minutes, but you're right. It's, last night you don't have Gordon Hayward. You don't have Jalen McDaniels, who's really improved this year. And so Cody Martin, he slides to the starting lineup. No McDaniels, no Hayward. So then that allows Bouknight to get some minutes in those moments. But it's just crazy to see how Cody's improved. And then you even go to your third point guard spot. I'll take Ish Smith any day of the week as my third point guard, as a guy that's going to be coming off of the bench that deep. I think he comes in and oftentimes gives the Hornets a spark, and so it's impressive. The other thing, too, James Bouknight's dunks are like incredibly effortless. Like it's
Mhm.
funny to see Kai Jones kind of talk about that at the beginning of the season when they had their dunk contest down in Miami when Terry Rozier rallied the troops going down to South Beach, and Kai just excited to be in a Hornets uniform in the NBA, talking about how James Bouknight, it's man, that his dunks just seem like he's not going to get up there, and then he continues to rise, and those are a
He's
lot
got
of fun.
the bunny hops. He had that one play against Atlanta last night where the defense just completely forgot about him. He drove all the way and
Yeah.
yammed it.
Fun. James Bouknight's a fun player. Can't wait to see what he does when he gets some more minutes now, next year, whenever we're going to see him. He's certainly a talented player. And speaking of Kai Jones, I saw you tweet kind of an update, scored 19 and 16 in Greensboro the last time he was with the Swarm. I think James Bouknight and Kai Jones both playing in that game. Sam, what kind of update can you give us about Kai Jones and how he's been playing down in the G League and just his overall development as the season goes on?
Yeah, I try and watch those games when I can. Sometimes if it's not on a game night, like the last one against Delaware, I think on Saturday they run a game, so we kind of tune in, especially if we got guys down there, and it's a little bit of an adjustment. I think you're playing with, I think the G League is obviously a little bit. There's a lot more scoring. It's a lot faster pace. I think there's a lot more. The talent level is obviously a little bit different down there. But yeah, I think the Hornets kind of entered the season unlike James necessarily. I think you entered with, the James Cody thing was going to kind of play itself out in training camp as the season progressed, and that's exactly how it has. I think bringing in Kai, you kind of knew he was a developmental prospect. I think that's why you traded back into the first round. I think was sort of the thought going into the year that this is a long-term thing rather than a guy that's going to help us right away. He's still relatively new to basketball. I think he only started playing basketball full time when he was 15, 16-ish, kind of going back and forth between the United States and the Bahamas. I think his mom was moving or back and forth for school, and didn't really have sort of the most like stable, consistent high school setting. So he's still relatively new to basketball, but man, can you see the athleticism there? I mean, it is crazy. It's one of those ones that if the Hornets can hit on him, I think he can be a really, really special player. I think JB was very complimentary of the effort he went up to the game in Greensboro the other night, and was just super impressed with the energy, the way he can run the floor. There's definitely something there. It's just going to take some time. I know that's not the fun answer necessarily, but this might be a couple years kind of thing. But they clearly loved him. I mean, he came. They traded back into the first round. You gave him a future asset to get him. So the fact that the Hornets really, really like him means they're willing to take time and be patient for his development. So there's definitely something there. The athleticism. He's a fun guy to watch. A fun guy to be around too. So.
Yeah.
I think it's not the answer everybody wants to hear. You want to see him go out and explode and, have 25, 30-point nights. But I think it's just one of those things that's going to take time. And I think the most valuable thing about him, lastly, is, I think you can play him at a lot of different positions. I think he's primarily a 4, but you can play him in a small ball 5. Could be a lob threat. He can switch on to 3 as well. I think he has the ability to really defensively be a big weapon for this Hornets team in the future.
Well, you're hitting on something there. Fan expectations are shifting, and sometimes in those shifts, there can be some tension. I'm sure you're feeling it on Twitter. Fans wanting to see more time for the rookies, fans wanting to see more time for LaMelo Ball. They're just these things that fans want, and they don't. And for years, we've seen that player development, and now it seems like the franchise is shifting into, okay, how do we get into the playoffs and become a serious playoff contender? And some, playing time is going to change, philosophies are going to change. And I'm sure you're feeling that too. I do want to talk about LaMelo Ball. He's been an exciting player to watch. He's a ton of heart, ton of energy, incredible physics breaking plays. We've seen all of that. What do people? A lot of new people are watching the Hornets now because LaMelo Ball is on this roster. What do people not? Those people, the new fans, what do they not understand about LaMelo Ball, or maybe they're missing so far in the LaMelo Ball experience?
In terms of fans that are just coming in watching the Hornets for the first time?
Yeah, exactly. Like new fans coming in, they see LaMelo Ball, they're excited to see him play. What do they not understand about LaMelo Ball's game? Because they know, he's an incredible passer. They know he's an incredible playmaker. What are they maybe missing a little bit in the LaMelo Ball experience?
Yeah, I think 2 things that he does that are just I love, that don't really stand out, and never going to make the highlight reels, are how good he is at rebounding, in traffic rebounding, and sort of that tip rebounding, how he can kind of get, anticipate where the shots are going to come off the backboard or off the rim, and be able to tip it to his teammates. I think is so unique, and it kind of factors into that sort of anticipation, seeing things before they happen kind of thing. We're not going to have a highlight reel of rebounds or anything like that, but his tip rebounding and the way he can kind of get those possessions is so good for a guard. It's unbelievable. And then kind of on the similar lines, his ability to generate steals, same thing, just the way he can kind of intercept passes on the defensive end. There's a challenge between, or I guess you say you want to find a balance between making sure that, if you're going to make a steal or make a play like that, you have to go make sure you get it, because if you don't get it, you could leave your guy out of position, and then the rest of the defense is scrambling. But he's so good at intercepting those passes defensively, and kind of, again, tipping them to himself, or reading offenses, that vision and that anticipation isn't just for scoring and passing. He's using it on the rebounding side. He's using it on the defensive playmaking side, and just kind of seeing things before they happen. So I really like watching those 2 components of a game. I think it's really, really special the way he's able to kind of use that feel just in a multitude of different areas.
Yeah, so also LaMelo was 15th in jersey sales as of just a few days ago, which is really cool. The popularity, it's there, and still top 5, pretty solidly in that 5th spot when it comes to players getting votes in the backcourt in the Eastern Conference. And so that does bode well for LaMelo going forward, and certainly to get in this All-Star game, which he's deservedly getting those types of votes. Hopefully that all pans out as the All-Star game approaches. Let's talk about Bet Online before we go to the last segment of Locked On Hornets. They'd like to wish you a happy new betting year as they continue to march to the playoffs and beyond. Bet Online remains the #1 spot for all the best sports wagering action for 2022, from football, basketball, hockey, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. You don't have to wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for 2022. It's the fastest and the easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports. Bet online where the game starts, and you can receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit when you use promo code LOCKEDON to get started. Again, Bet online, it's where the game starts. One more segment to go with Sam Purley coming up next. Locked On Hornets podcast.
You are listening to the Locked On Hornets podcast.
And Doug, don't you have an Eldon Campbell like stuffed animal type thing?
Yes, I do. I got it at the last regular season home game that they had before they left for New Orleans.
I love me some Eldon Campbell, but is that the guy?
They were clearing everything out of the house because it was whatever they gave to the fans that night, they didn't have to take with them to New Orleans.
Get more Hornets analysis on LockedOnHornets.com.